Well, President Biden is traveling to Israel today, and he's going to be meeting with the country's leaders tomorrow, and then make his way to Jordan to meet with King Abdullah, as well as the Palestinian Authority president and the president of Egypt. We're going to bring in Christina Ruffini now to talk more about this evolving situation. You know, I was talking to a general earlier, Christina, and he talked about the importance of the diplomatic effort, that you don't win this with a ground invasion or with missiles. It's got to be diplomacy. It's got to be aid. Why is Biden going to Israel now?
Well, I think the issue is, first of all, nobody really wins with war and violence. And that's very apparent going into this. This was only ever going to be bad. The question now is, can Biden keep it from getting worse? Look, the president is going over at a very crucial time. It's odd. We saw him go to Ukraine, but if you think about that trip, it was after the conflict had been going for a while and had kind of settled down, at least in the eastern part of the country. In this case, he's going on the precipice of this huge expected, Israeli ground incursion into Gaza. So the questions are, what are the objectives? What is he trying to get out of it? And you look at the initial stop as the big headline, right? He's going to Israel. But the tail end of this trip might actually be more important. And that's those meetings you just mentioned in Amman with Mahmoud Abbas and the Palestinians organizations and, Arab leaders in the Gulf there, because for the last couple of years, there's been a march towards normalization with these Arab nations and Israel. We saw the Abraham Accords. Now, Saudi Arabia was poised to also join those accords and have normalized diplomatic relations with Egypt. Those are on hold right now. It's a very precarious position for the U.S. to be in, to have all these Arab and Middle Eastern allies watching Israel about to go into Gaza and watching the humanitarian crisis unfold and saying, what is the U.S. going to do about this? At the same time, President Biden has and needs to show support for Israel. So it's a fine line to walk, and we'll have to see what actually comes out of this trip.
So as you know, Secretary Blinken, Christina, has been having nonstop meetings in the region. There's a couple of issues here that he's focused on. Number one, obviously, getting American citizens out of Israel and Gaza, but also getting humanitarian aid to the folks in Gaza who need it. And the question that we've asked the State Department, we've asked John Kirby, is, what is the United States doing to allow partners in the region, specifically Egypt and Jordan, to allow people who are fleeing the Israeli airstrikes or even fleeing the tyranny of Hamas to be able to find some safe passage, even if it's temporary? I understand, as we all do, that Egypt's economy isn't the best right now. I understand that people, countries may not want refugees, potentially millions of refugees in their country, but facing what they're facing, there has to be something diplomatically that can be done here.
Right, because remember, the only non-Israel controlled exit out of Gaza is that Rafah boarding crossing at Egypt. And if you remember your geography, that's because Gaza used to be held by Egypt until the 6 Days War, where Israel took it back over. And then later on, during the Oslo Accords, that was normalized. And it's been this kind of, it's gone back and forth with decades with various levels of autonomy, and Israel eventually pulled out. There was an election. To everyone's surprise, Hamas won the majority of the seats, and the blockade has been in place now ever since. Blinken has really been trying to get that gate open. These meetings have been about humanitarian issues. They have been about showing support to Arab communities and trying to create communication. So far, however, officials have not been able to convince the Egyptian government to open that gate. They have terrorism concerns, they have refugee concerns, and they might want to get something in exchange. Now, Egypt is one of the biggest recipients of U.S. military aid after Israel, but the U.S. does not seem to, so far, have found the right leverage to get that gate open. And that's a problem because, as you mentioned, there are Americans at that gate trying to get out. It's reminiscent of, frankly, Kabul airport, trying to get people out through that exit. When you have a war zone and there is only one way to get out, it does not end well, especially if that is not an actual way to get out. And we saw on CBS this morning, our crew in Gaza was there when there was bombings in the south today, which is what a lot of people have cited, saying, you were telling us to go south. South isn't safe either. And if you have all these people massed around this one area, that's a security concern as well for all of these civilians. So we have to see if the president's trip can push that agreement over the line, right? He's meeting with Sadat in Jordan, the Egyptian president, And that's a very specific meeting. And, we're going to have to see if President Biden's trip delays the ground assault long enough that they can get that gate open. But the timing here is very precarious, and the clock is ticking, and there's not a lot of time.
Christina, a lot of people are going to see those images of these aid trucks lined up, ready to go at that crossing, and wonder, just open it, just let one truck through. Can you kind of just map out what the argument is that is delaying aid going from Egypt into Gaza?
It's kind of a who's going to blink first situation, right? The Americans are saying, like, open the gate and let some of the refugees out. And a lot of the Arab nations, including Egypt, are saying, okay, we'll do that, but you have to let aid in. But then the Israelis have concerns that if you're taking these huge convoys of aid trucks into Gaza, who's going to check those trucks? The Israelis are saying, okay, every single truck would have to be checked. And logistically, they're not going to want, no one has the resources to do that right now. They're in a combat zone. So everybody's got to figure out what the priorities are and what everyone else can live with in order to get that gate open, and it's just not happening. And like we said, we don't know when this Israeli ground assault is scheduled to take place. We thought it might happen over the weekend. We're waiting for it, frankly, every evening. We've all got our phones on, as you well know. So it's going to be tight. It's going to be close. And as we've seen in any conflicts, as we've seen in Ukraine, as we saw in Afghanistan, it's always the civilian population that pays the price for the inaction of their leadership.
Israel is concerned, or has said that it's concerned that the aid has to go to Palestinians in need and not to Hamas. But one of the things that we've been talking about this entire time is how enmeshed Hamas and civilians are. That's another sort of level. How do you guarantee that this fuel is going to go to a desalinization plant and not get detoured somewhere else in the midst of this upheaval?
Or to keep a NICU on in a hospital. We've seen, these doctors refusing to evacuate. It's an incredibly complicated situation, and it's not going to get uncomplicated.
Yeah, I mean, just like our hearts were breaking when we saw the images coming out of Israel 10 days ago, now you see images like the ones we saw this morning that our CBS News crew was able to witness and capture on camera, where you see children screaming and being hauled out of the rubble by adults, children that are, in some cases, 5, 6, 7 years old. It's tough. And hopefully that aid gets to the folks who need it, and hopefully the president will be able to move that along. That's what the hope is, at least. Christina, as always, we thank you.
Thank you, guys.